Professor Larry Dr. Edwards, Rabbi, Professor of Jewish Thought, was sitting there, and now he also can be invisible. Okay.
Dayenu, I want to say. But a rabbi has been invited to speak. And I want to acknowledge my friends from Or Chadash, my predecessor, Rabbi Suzanne Griffel at Or Chadash, and my successor, Rabbi Cindy Enger, and other friends, and happy Pride. This is a day to celebrate the journey. Yesterday's portion was Korach, the great challenge to the leadership of Moses and Aaron. And this week, in Chukat, we read about the death of Miriam and of Aaron. An entire generation is passing away. The wilderness journey is nearing its end, but this is only the first phase of a journey that continues to this day with us. Of all the episodes of dissent, rebellion, mutiny, and general kvetching in the wilderness, the revolt of Korach and his allies has always struck me as the most fraught, most pivotal, and most ideologically pregnant. It is surely because, on the face of it, the claim made by the rebels seems fair, egalitarian, proto-democratic. The entire people is holy. Each of us stood at Sinai. Therefore, who are Moses and Aaron to be in charge? Sounds like a good argument. So much so that we need a very dramatic gesture on God's part, the opening of the earth and the swallowing of the rebels, to signal clearly that they were on the wrong side. Korach et al. Are remembered as demagogues. Their argument was not for the sake of heaven, but for the sake of their own power and self-aggrandizement. This is the understanding of the well-known Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. Kol machloket shehi l'shem shamayim sofa lehitkayem. A debate, a disagreement, an argument, a dispute that is for the sake of heaven is destined to endure. A debate not for the sake of heaven is not destined to endure. What is an example of a debate for the sake of heaven? The debate of Hillel and Shammai. And one not for the sake of heaven? The dispute of Korach and his company. I have wondered why a dispute for the sake of heaven, the dispute itself, should be said to endure. Is this a good thing? Should we not prefer that it be settled? Then there could be peace and we could move on. But no, it seems that life is not like that. The truly important arguments are not so easily disposed of. Disagreements persist. If both sides of a dispute are honestly seeking the truth, the dispute itself has lasting value. We learn to live with the tension of an argument that continues to reverberate without full resolution. There is a remarkable detail of the story that deserves some attention. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Order Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, to remove the fire pans, for they have become sacred." These are the pans, the vessels, the implements that the Levites among the rebels, Korach and other Levites, were instructed to bring to the day of the test. They have been made holy. Let them be made into hammered sheets as plating for the altar. They have become sacred. How did the fire pans of the rebels become holy, holy enough to be made into the outer layer, the skin of the altar? The text suggests that it was a warning. Let them serve as a warning to the people of Israel. It was to be a reminder to the Israelites so that no outsider, one not of Aaron's offspring, should presume to offer incense before the Lord and suffer the fate of Korach and his band. A warning, okay, but still, they have become sacred. This suggests more than just a warning. Among the rebels, especially the rebel leaders, were those who were only interested in power for the sake of power. Yet some among their followers were motivated by something deeper, a sincere, if misguided, longing for holiness. The Eitz Chaim commentary cites Ha'emek Davar from the 19th century to this effect. And Rav Kook goes so far as to say that the holiness of the fire pans symbolizes the necessary role played by skeptics and agnostics in keeping religion honest and healthy. So what made the earlier rabbis so sure that Korach's argument was not for the sake of heaven? Martin Buber and Yeshayahu Leibovitz argue that Korach's error was defining the holiness of the people as a fait accompli. Moses understood that holiness is a goal, a journey, not a state of permanent being. Kedoshim tihiyu, we are told in Leviticus, you shall be holy. It is in the well-named imperfect tense, uncompleted action, future potential. As Leibovitz puts it, the holiness of Israel is not a reality, but a task. In a sincere struggle toward holiness, mistakes can become paving stones. Religion is not about being perfect, but about how to do teshuvah, turning, ever returning to the path toward the goal of holiness. The scorched copper of the rebels' fire pans is not just a warning, but becomes a recognition that even what begins as a dispute not for the sake of heaven can become holy, does in fact endure. Korach, after all, is not excised from the Torah. His name is not blotted out and forgotten. He even gets his name on a parashah. Way better than any memorial plaque in a synagogue. Yesterday was Shabbat Korach. And as we follow along in that reading, it brings us to this week's Torah portion, leading us through some laws pertaining to the Levites and the strange institution of the red heifer. And returning to the narrative, we arrive at the wilderness of Zin and jumping apparently some 38 years ahead at that point to this week's Torah portion, Chukat, where the leaders of the revolution, the Exodus, the Great Escape, the leaders now begin to die off. First, Miriam. Miriam died there and was buried there. No mention of formal mourning, no mention of tahara, no mention of shmirah. Just died and was buried there. Just the sudden absence of water. Hence the legend of Miriam's well that had followed the people throughout their wandering. And the complaints of thirst, which caused Moses, as you know, to strike the rock twice and lose the privilege of leading the people into the land of Israel. And as if these losses were not enough, it now comes time for Aaron to hand the high priesthood over to his son Eleazar. Imagine the tears in Moses' eyes as he strips the garments of the priesthood from his brother. Moses, Aaron, and Eleazar ascend Mount Hor together. Only Moses and Eleazar return. Leadership has its privileges, but generally more defeats than successes. Nevertheless, we are still here, the Jewish people on its long journey. Certainly, in the wilderness of Zin, no one imagined how it might lead to Skokie. So let us take a moment to salute the dream of Rabbi Dr. Goldhammer. Chicago deserves a liberal rabbinical school. Our little seminary brings together an unusually pluralistic faculty and students with a deep thirst for learning. Who knows where it might go, how it might grow from here. The journey does not come to an end, but is handed on l'dor vador, from one generation to the next. The book of Numbers brings us to the eastern side of the Jordan. There Moses will deliver his farewell address, the book of Deuteronomy. He will be allowed to see the land, and then he too will die. And in our regular yearly cycle of Torah readings, we will be sent back to the beginning, the harsh reminder that none of us, even the greatest, gets to see the fulfillment of our work. This is the essence of the Torah's story. We have discussed this in class, I know, and I find it one of the most fascinating features of our annual reading of the Torah. We read through our sacred book year after year, always the same story, yet slightly, sometimes significantly, different each time. Each time our yearly journey through the Torah brings us up to the goal and then begins again. Therein lies one of the deep teachings of the Torah. The journey is more important than the arrival. Indeed, in any one life, one always falls short. Even Moses, the greatest of all our teachers, will not reach his goal. If the main point had been arrival and conquest, we would have had 6 books, and we would read the book of Joshua from the same scroll as the Torah. But that is not how our tradition has been shaped. It is not about our own personal success or achievement or arrival, but only about how much each of us contributes to the whole, how much we keep it moving forward, how much we deepen it with our own gifts and insights. Here we celebrate the accomplishments of Carla and Marcy. You have chosen, relatively late in your life journeys, to move forward with a dream of Torah learning and of service to the Jewish people. Carla, you have lived toward this day for longer than you could have imagined, at least since your bat mitzvah, if you had had one, a lifetime of preparation. Marcy, you have written and you have spoken, again, eloquently of your gradual falling in love with Judaism, a love affair that has sustained you through some hard times. We congratulate you both. You have worked hard, you have sacrificed, you have shown courage and stubbornness and commitment and love of Torah. We celebrate, too, our faculty and those who devote time and resources to supporting this institution. May we go from strength to strength. In all our journeys, our one constant companion has been the Torah, by which we mean not only the 5 books of Moses, but all of its commentaries as well, including every question asked by a student of a teacher over all the generations. May your questions and arguments endure. Chazak, chazak v'nitchazek. Let us strengthen one another.
Rabbi Edwards, you know, I'm 70 next year.
Wow.
Okay.
Can you
No, okay. Your talk today was the most moving talk I've ever heard a rabbi do. I don't know what to do next. Next is, I think that's the hymn. Closing hymn, sing it with joie de vivre. Sing it with enthusiasm. Oseh Shalom.
Oseh Shalom Libraha. Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu. Ve'ato Yisrael. Ve'ato Yaseh Shalom.
Shalom.
Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu. Ve'ato Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom. Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu. Ve'ato Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom. Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu. Ve'ato Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom. Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu. Ve'ato Yisrael.
For B'nai Adam. Thank you. Oh, join us for food.